Ladies and gentlemen, according to the New York Times, Matt Gaetz is being investigated for some pretty horrible things. And so he categorically denies the allegations. I'm going to read you a New York Times article. 3 people Matt Gaetz is said to face Justice Department inquiry over relations with, okay, I'm not going to get into it. Actually, the comment section will be, this is one of the very, very few videos I'll ever do without a comment section. Just because YouTube policies and guidelines are becoming more and more strict. Obviously, I'll have a comment section next segment. If Representative Gaetz is guilty, or if there's evidence he should be indicted, just like Senator Bob Menendez was. For actually, if you look at what he was indicted for, Democratic Senator Bob Menendez, a lot worse than what's being alleged. A lot worse than what's being alleged with Matt Gaetz. But Matt Gaetz, if the evidence shows, should be indicted and should face the full consequences of the law, just like Anthony Weiner, who, former Democratic representative, ran for mayor of New York City, who served prison time for similar activities that are alleged to have taken place with Matt Gaetz. Again, it's not about the accusations that Bob Menendez apparently through a mistrial evaded, and the prison sentence of a former Democratic New York congressman don't cancel out what Matt Gaetz is accused of having done. What they do is point out the hypocrisy. What I find despicable is a complete silence when it comes to numerous Democrats, and this schadenfreude, this jubilant reaction, this gleeful enjoyment that 3 people in the New York Times accuse Matt Gaetz of being targeted in an investigation, while those same people have no clue what was accused of, what Senator Bob Menendez was accused of, which far more egregious than what Gaetz is accused of, and couldn't care less that a former Democratic representative in New York actually served prison time for a similar situation. Can't really talk about it, but go look up the indictments against Senator Bob Menendez, which, again, there was a mistrial. And go look up why the former Democratic Congressman Weiner, had to serve prison time. But I'll read you this. Matt Gaetz is said to face Justice Department inquiry. So an inquiry is not an investigation, or is it an investigation? We don't know. An inquiry into the Florida congressman was opened in the final months of Trump's administration. People briefed on it said. Okay. Representative Matt Gaetz, Republican of Florida, and a close ally of former President Donald Trump, is being investigated by the Justice Department over whether he had relations and paid for her to travel with him, according to 3 people briefed on the matter. So, if this is true, he's in a lot of trouble, and he deserves the full extent of the law. Like, if what he did was, criminal, then absolutely. I don't think that just because I voted for President Trump, so just because you're loyal to President Trump doesn't mean that you shouldn't face the full consequences of the law if you commit what's being accused of him. For the people, though, that are gleefully, taking this victory lap Because the comment sections of so many other, like, oh, look, yeah, he's a horrible human being. Well, what do you think of the two Democrats that I just, you can look up their history. And it's not just two Democrats. There are more Democrats involved with a whole lot of despicable activities. The Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, okay? Nobody's talking about allegations against, and that's not, the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia's misconduct on a different scale. Has nothing to do with the topic that we're talking about. But you can look up the former Attorney General of New York. Again, a different topic. You can look up all of these Democrats that, and you look also the Washington Post and the Democratic machine, they went to bat for Senator Bob Menendez. It was very different. But you can, let's see. You can look up just the most horrible, horrible things on both sides of the political divide, Democrats and Republicans. But here, investigators are examining whether Mr. Gaetz violated federal laws. The People said a variety of federal statutes make it illegal to induce. Okay, so then there's this article in The Independent. Tucker Carlson says Matt Gaetz' interview was one of the weirdest he has done. This is a little bit bizarre. Tucker Carlson said it was one of the weirdest he had done. The network requested an appearance from Mr. Gaetz following the New York Times story. He said, on the certainty that there's always more than what you read in the paper. I don't think that clarified. I don't think that clarified much. He said. Okay, I think it was Tucker Carlson. At one point during the interview, Mr. Gaetz addressed the misconduct allegations that once faced Mr. Carlson. So, you were accused of something you did not do. So you know how this feels. Pain you can bring your family. In another moment, Mr. Gaetz also said a woman he claimed was harassed by the FBI had also met Mr. Carlson. So you and I went to dinner about two years ago. I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. She was actually, the FBI, and then later Tucker Carlson said he did not remember that person or their meeting providing. Okay, so Mr. Gaetz added that he believes that people at Justice Department are trying to smear him. Quote, providing for flights and hotel rooms for people that you're dating who are of legal age is not a crime. So you have a situation where he's denying the allegations, denying any wrongdoing, just like Bob Menendez, just like Anthony Weiner, just like Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, just like the former Attorney General of New York, just like Al Franken, but we found photos of Al Franken. So, I mean, again, you should always engage in whataboutism with Democrats. The only reason you should always engage in whataboutism is because they're worse. They engage in worse. They get covered. Their indiscretions and misconduct is covered up by media, or it's. Let's not even get to Hunter Biden. But he's not accused of anything like that. But he's allegedly did a whole bunch of other things. But here, they don't show outrage. They pontificate and preach and judge when it's anyone that they can disparage. They don't show outrage or condemnation or judgment when they're caught with their pants down, literally. Media is more than happy. Oh, like Jim Jordan. Okay, he did not do anything wrong. Yet they're saying that he knew. Okay, Lincoln Project founder. Do you think the Lincoln Project people knew? There are reports that they did. Did they? So it's like this mudslinging. You look, and the people who are actually like serving the prison time or committing the most egregious acts and getting or allegedly, and then they have the mistrials, and then they have the positive media coverage. That's on the Democratic side of the divide. Again, if Matt Gaetz is guilty, he's guilty. He should get the full extent of the law. But you see the difference. So what are the chances that the Justice Department officials who lean towards the Democratic Party, even during William Barr's, William Barr did not have full control of that Justice Department. That Justice Department investigated Trump during his presidency with Jeff Sessions. So do you think perhaps the bias is make Matt Gaetz look just as bad as all the Democrats who were accused of doing worse? Again, that doesn't absolve Matt Gaetz. What I'm saying is the moral victory that Democrats have derived from this is just typical of how duplicitous and disingenuous a great many of these morally superior liberal Democrats believe themselves to be. Go look up what Senator Bob Menendez was alleged to have committed. And then you explain if that's worse. You go look at, and look up and find out the level of outrage from Democrats. The same Democrats who are jumping up for joy because the Justice Department is investigating Matt Gaetz, who, by the way, like I've said a million times, if he's guilty, he should receive the full extent of legal consequences. Okay? But here, you're looking at a situation where there's a possibility that this man's being, there's a possibility that bias, let's say, is working against him. There is a possibility. You can't really say that with the New Jersey senator when the allegations against him took place under President Obama's administration. You can't say, well, like, that points to perhaps the potential accuracy of the alleged claims against him. But here, they were promising Joe Biden would pardon me. Obviously, I don't need a pardon. I'm not seeking a pardon. The recordings will prove my innocence, so they have recordings. So, I mean, if he's relying on the FBI and Justice Department to release any recordings, they asked his father to wear a wire. So that doesn't really make sense. If he knows that his own father's wearing a wire, that he would be like this criminal suspect or target. Apparently, he's the subject of a probe and not the target. Here we go again with Hillary Clinton. She was the subject, not the target. Then we found out it was the target here. But anyway, so of a federal probe. Mr. Gaetz told Fox News that his father received a text message on 16 March demanding a meeting with $25 million in exchange for making allegations go away against him. So that's if he can prove that, then a whole lot of people are in trouble. I'll put this article below that Tucker Gaetz says Tucker Carlson says Matt Gaetz' interview was one of the weirdest he's done, because it actually it actually talks about the allegations against him and his perspective in terms of denying the allegations. Democrats work in the following manner. Trump's hot mic is worth more to them. Like, it gives them greater moral authority than the police report accusing Biden of having done exactly what Trump said in a hot mic. That wasn't an admission or a deposition. This is the way the morally superior among us work. It'd be one thing. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like I said a million times, if he's guilty, he needs to accept the full consequences of the law. But my point is, you see the reaction. Wasn't the reaction when you heard about the Lincoln Project? Wasn't the reaction when you heard about the New Jersey senator? Wasn't the reaction when you heard about Uma Abedin's husband? Wasn't the reaction when you heard about the litany of scandals and controversies on the Democratic side? The gleeful, morally superior response is always saved for Jim Jordan or Matt Gaetz. And, Democrats, even one lady at The View said, no, don't believe any allegations recently. against Andrew Cuomo. Did I forget Andrew Cuomo? That's a shipwreck right there. Give me your thoughts below. Democrats are the last people on the planet to pontificate and judge when it comes to this type of thing, because the public record shows, from Andrew Cuomo to the New Jersey senator to their a great many despicable allegations leveled at them as well. The difference is they have pretty much all of media going to bat for them and trying every possible way to tear down any allegations. Whereas there's this gleeful enjoyment when Matt Gaetz or Jim Jordan are accused. That points to a really nefarious level of hypocrisy in our political culture. Give me your thoughts below. Thank you so very, very much. Or actually, you can't give me your thoughts below. But like I said a million times, if Matt Gaetz is guilty, he should experience the full extent of the legal consequences.